So, Jerome, when you're in a complex organization, let's say, how do you cope with uncertainties? Uncertainties around yourself, your position, the future of the company. How do you navigate with so much uncertainty around us?
It's really about relationships and trust. And if right now we have a lot of uncertainty, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity is something that we've been dealing with for the last decade, but particularly through the pandemic, after the pandemic, there's been a lot of VUCA that exists. And the drivers of VUCA is the complexity, volatility and the change. And then the side effects of VUCA involves the emotional part, the ambiguity and the uncertainty. So when you look at it, you have to be able to address that emotional component. If you try to deal with the emotional aspects of VUCA with a very rational mindset, that is not going to work. We've gone from a complicated world to a complex world. By that, what I'm saying is that it used to be 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. Now it's complex. So 1 + 1 maybe equals 2 some places, but in other places it may not. And so to be in the complex world that we're in right now, you have to basically look at everything with a little bit of a different lens. And it's the ability to navigate through that. This is a puzzle. And how do I solve this puzzle? But to do that, we have to really understand where rational thought comes in and where emotional aspects are affected.
So, does that mean that you monitor your own thinking on a continuous basis, understanding that sometimes emotions will take over and acknowledge that those emotions are not necessarily negative in your thinking and decision making process?
So I really always encourage people to acknowledge the emotions. So if you're angry, acknowledge it. If you're overwhelmed, acknowledge it.
Don't repress it.
If you're frustrated, acknowledge it. Now, by acknowledging it, it allows you to possibly do something about it.
Right.
When we don't acknowledge it is when we're spinning and we get stuck. And so organizations that acknowledge the difficulties or challenges they're having are probably going to be more successful than the ones that say, well, what we did last year, what we did 10 years ago, why isn't that not working? And I don't think there's many organizations out there that believe that what they did 10 years ago works today in 2024. But sometimes our mindset is that, well, what I used to do should be able to work what I need to do now. And sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does.
Sometimes, Jerome, the complexity is lived strongly by the people in mid management, let's say. And at the very top, they have, of course, their own stress and their own complexities, but there's a disconnect between the top tier and the middle tier. And what you live on the factory floor, let's say, is not connecting with the people on top. And how, if you're a leader, bring in a culture of acceptance of that complexity and making it an opportunity to make a better environment for everyone to work together.
Years ago, I was in charge of HR for a physical plant at Cal State University Northridge. And what I did was I went to the trades and I spent time in their shops. I spent time getting to know what they did, how they did it. And I even went out on some jobs with the custodial staff. I went to the buildings and I talked with them. What I learned is that if I really wanted to know about the organization, the people who knew the most about it and could give me the most details were the custodians.
Mm-hmm.
And so every new job that I had, I spent time talking to the custodians because they knew things about the culture, about the environment. They knew things about where all the dirt was, literally and figuratively. And so if you really want to really get a pulse of your organization, spend time at the levels in which your organization has. So spend time with the junior staff, spend time with the custodians, Get people to know who you are, get to know who they are, and just leave your office, walk around.
Hmm.
And that method still works. Managed by walking around. And right now, in this world that we live in through Zoom and everything like that, it's a little bit difficult. But you can have a walking around Zoom meeting where you just invite everyone in and you just kind of chat, talk, share things. One game that I use on Zoom a lot that works really effectively with the groups is the birthday game, where
Okay.
I have everyone write down on a card their birthday. They keep it secret. They hold it. And then I go on a count of three, 1, 2, 3, show your card. And the laughter and people are like, oh, wow, you were born in February? Well, you were born in September? April? And then I just have all the Aprils cheer, March cheer. And so that's a physical game that I used to do a lot in public, but I've converted to doing on Zoom.
It's a terrific story, and in uncertain times, it cements that attitude, cements the group together, and it's able to confront all the problems easier that way.
Alex, organizations do not play enough. As kids, we learned to play. We solved a lot of our problems through play, a
That's
lot of
true.
difficulties through play. Organizations don't play enough. We're a playful species. That's where we have our best times. And so what we think we can't play at work. Well, you just have to know intentionally what the play is about. So the more you can play, the more you're going to learn and grow.
Gamify your organization.
Yes.
That's the conclusion for this segment. Awesome. Thank you, Jerome.